you can judge what coaches think of players by the way they do stuff, right? If they say, we really like this guy and then he never plays, right? Or coordinators, the way they talk about a player and the way then they use a player. So the way Kyle talked about Trey, to me, not about the human, but about his game, is somewhat irrelevant given what we've watched. We know the way he feels about his ability to throw the football. Not his arm strength, but his, I think it's pretty clear he did not view him as an accurate player right now. And trusting him to win a game, which going into today was must win. It's a must-win game. The Niners could not start 0-2. It couldn't happen, especially Seattle, who it's pretty clear, like, week one, that was a Super Bowl, probably not going to be the greatest team. But he was going to try to win the game by running the football. And that is Trey's best quality. It's like, why did you run it up the middle? Well, unlike Kyler, who had a miraculous game-tying touchdown, right? Elite outside speed. Lamar Jackson, elite outside speed. Josh Allen plays way faster than Trey. You can't run Trey on sweep. Someone tweeted at me, Steve Young and Kaepernick, they ran outside. They're way faster than Trey Lance. Trey Lance actually isn't that fast. Now, he is a powerful guy, so what's his best run? What's his best play right now? Running up the middle. And there were a couple plays in that game. It worked. Remember the Cardinal game last year? Kind of worked there too a couple times. And it ultimately cost him. But why was Kyle calling that play? Because it's one of the only fucking plays that works. Do you think Kyle would rather just run normal plays? Of course he would. But for whatever reason in practice, you and I aren't privy to go. Neither is the media. Only the team. And I think the team's very protective of him. We know people on the team. They're not going to badmouth the kid, if he's making bad throws or whatever. But for whatever reason, they don't have the confidence to just run basic pass plays for him. And the play they think he's going to be most successful. And the reason he kept calling it that's insane to do that week 2. Well, yeah, that's the only play he thinks he's good at. That's Kyle's opinion, who I think we can all agree, Kyle knows a thing or two about offensive football. So this notion that Kyle royally fucked up, bullshit. Kyle thinks if he throws the ball, he's going to lose the game. That was their thought as a staff coming into the game.
I said it immediately after it happened, and somebody thought it was being dramatic, but I agree with you. It's not being dramatic at all. It was clear that was what he believed the best way to win. I think what was also clear was he had done the calculation, which every coach does. Kyle has had running backs hurt consistently. Every time he's coached a season, he's had multiple running backs hurt. He knows that running the ball can get a guy hurt. And so it wasn't just to me that he did the calculation, this is the way we win the game. His calculation was the risk that comes with running my quarterback is worth it because the number one thing we must do is win the game, even if that puts Trey Lance at risk. And I know he said after the game, hey, just watch football. This is what people do, right? That's fine. Yeah, it is. Josh Allen does it. A lot of people do it. But the one thing I would say, John, consistently, and I don't want to jump to a conclusion. It's so hard to know. I think Trey has looked uncomfortable running the football. I went back and watched Josh Allen's first game.
You've been saying that since we've seen him.
Josh Allen does not look uncomfortable when he runs the football. Trey looks to me, and I've said it, I think at times he's unsure how to finish a run. It doesn't mean he can't. It just means I think it's a result of a lack of experience playing against players who can really hurt him. In college, players could not really hurt him. He could just
he admitted that earlier this week. He said the biggest difference, side speed and violence.
Is that why he got hurt? I don't know. Would he have gotten hurt in the pocket? Maybe. But here's what I know. The 49ers ran 15 plays with Trey Lance today. 12 of those 15 plays were run plays. Of those 12 run plays, they were basically evenly distributed among 4 players.
Debo, Wilson, him.
Debo had 2. Ty Davis-Price had 4. 3 apiece for Jeff Wilson Jr. and Trey Lance. So we can debate it, but he was getting runs in line with how the running backs run the football.
Well, Debo's not technically a running back and a highly paid guy.
No. 15 plays, 12 runs. So it was 20% pass and 80% run with Trey Lance. Now, the end of the stats, the end of the game, ignore. Jimmy Garoppolo comes into the game, and by the end of the first half, he'd run 18 plays. Of those 18 plays, 11 of them were passes, and 7 of them were runs. So in the first half,
and obviously he's not running, right?
And he's not running. They were 60% pass after they were 20% pass with Trey. In fact, It only took 5 plays for Jimmy Garoppolo to throw the ball more than Trey Lance had in the first 12 plays. So 3 pass attempts in 12 plays for Trey, 4 pass attempts in 5 plays for Garoppolo. And it was exactly what does a coach do? They want to put their players in position to make plays. And we could debate, is that Kyle's fault? Did he make a mistake? Maurice, who was very generous here, says fire Kyle. He's an OC, not a head coach. His decision-making screams it. I won't yell at you because you gave us $50. But he is saying, you could argue you think Kyle's assessment is wrong, but that is his evaluation. The better way to win with Jimmy is to throw. And right now, the better way to win with Trey was to run. And Trey got hurt on a run. It doesn't mean Jimmy ran into, I don't know why he was doing running Jimmy at the end of the game. Like, is he trying to get to Brock Purdy? But there's the math right there.
Well, I'm going to use, God, we're getting, people are drinking some Tito.
It's Maurice again. Maurice.
Okay. He said, what are we talking about? How can you develop him if he won't allow him to throw the ball? Kyle is a coward. Well, here's the problem. Kyle has to win this game. They have a fucking Super Bowl level roster. It's about winning this game. So he's not going to throw it over and let him skip the ball into the ground and keep going 3 and out. And just like part of development. You see Trent and Fred and Kittle and Ayuk and Debo. That's the whole point. They are trying to win this game. So developing him, what did they do with Kaepernick? When they got him in and he was nowhere near ready to throw besides some deep bombs, they ran the pistol and he was awesome at it. And remember, it's like no one ever they're putting him in harm's way. Why? Because Kaepernick was instinctive. It came naturally to him because he had mastered it. Well, the only thing this guy can kind of do effectively, because, again, it turns out Seattle wasn't that good, but coming into this game, Kyle took them seriously. How could you not?
You're 0-1.
You're 0-1, and they just kicked some ass. Kicked ass would be strong, but they were more than respectable. Like, you take them seriously based off that game. Would they have been cool? Would everyone in this chat have been cool with just going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out if he's just missing deep out routes? Because I remember when Kaepernick, they started throwing it all the time. Remember when they tried to force the more modern offense and everyone freaked? And it was like, just let him run. And you could tell Kaepernick didn't really want to run. That's not the case here. Trey was trying to run. It's the only thing he's effective at doing. The head coach thinks. Because when we saw him pass last week, balls were kind of all over the place. It's the number one thing that every single person has been talking about. Accuracy issues. That's not debatable. He has accuracy issues. So if you're just going to be like, well, throw the ball all the time, and then he has accuracy issues, and all of a sudden you lose, everyone's going to be furious. He gets hurt on a play. Lamar Jackson is turning down like $180 million, $130 at the moment he signs his contract. He's running around all the time. And he doesn't get hurt. Like, these guys are running quarterbacks. So, like, part of being a running quarterback, I watched Josh Allen stiff arm people into the ground. I watched Kyler Murray give the fucking little guy credit, ran a touchdown in to basically save their season. Might have ruined the Raiders. But run around. Like, it wasn't part of this.
Did you see what happened by the end? I don't want to distract us from this topic, but they had to review it because he almost threw the ball before he broke the plane at the goal line.
Did Deshaun Jackson style?
Yeah,
he throw it into the stands.
Yeah. But it was like as he crossed the goal line. But that's
so. Here's the thing: everyone, including myself, was like circle jerking about having this sweet athletic quarterback. Right? That's the modern NFL: run around making plays, and then he runs around and gets his ankle shattered. You know what I mean? Because, like, here's where you have been dead on. He's not really a confident runner. So he's not a confident runner. Kaepernick, listen, inaccurate. Early Kaepernick was as confident as a runner as the NFL's ever seen. Well, makes sense. He had gotten like a Harvard business degree in running the football at Nevada, and he had mastered it.
He was a 1,000-yard rusher as a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean,
1,000-yard rusher as a quarterback,
and it was just elite. It was elite. I mean, he was elite at it. Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson are elite at it. This guy, freak injury, but he's not like, that's not really his thing. But this is what Kyle would say. Well, what's he really good at? You guys want me to develop him? That's the thing. Develop him, and just lose games. What are we talking about? Kyle, you and I have said over and over, it's all about winning today and winning tomorrow. Now, so the Bills and Lamar, they operated like that too. They operated like that with Lamar. It's like, how long is Lamar going to keep playing like this? He's been going 4 years now like it. You watch their offense, it's pretty similar to what they've been doing. Yeah. I watched Kyler, they're running like options and shit. You see, as we're getting ready for it, they ran options all the time. Well, here's the thing. Trey can't run the option. Why? He's not faster than linebackers. He's not faster than linebackers. So I just did people just want to watch it throw into the ground like last week? How'd that go?
Well,
how was everyone last week with that?
Yeah, I mean, so I think this is where the Niners they set up the situation for themselves to be in a very difficult spot. How do you develop a quarterback when you have to win? How do you do that? Right?
You usually start Jimmy Garoppolo and you just kind of work him on the back.
Yeah, you work him on the back, or you do what Kyle was doing, right? Which is we're just going to do it this way. And as we win, maybe we'll be able to do the other stuff and slowly grow what he's comfortable with. But when the thing he's most comfortable, well, I mean, when his greatest weapon is his mobility, and I do think in some ways his mobility can help his throwing, right? I don't think it's as simple as Trey can't throw, so he's only going to run. I think part of it is if we establish the run, it's going to make it easier for Trey to throw.
Exactly. No one's saying he can't throw. It's just that he's an inaccurate thrower. So
and no one's saying he would have never been able to throw.
But when you're really inaccurate, it's hard to run an offense, correct?
Well, yeah. I mean, hard to run it. Yes. Yeah. But the problem is what you just said, the kind of catch-22 for the Niners, and they walked a tightrope with it last year, and we said it. The second they drafted Trey and stuck with Jimmy, Kyle is walking a tightrope. We've been saying this for a year and a half. How do you try and do everything you can to win while also developing a quarterback? How do you do that? It'd be like if you only got in the car when you had to be somewhere. That's the only time you use the car. Family, the only time we're using the car is when we have to be somewhere. But you have a 16-year-old kid with a learner's permit. So when do you put him behind the wheel? Well, we got to get to church. It's a 30-minute drive, and we got 30 minutes to be there. So do you put the kid behind the wheel or not? What do you do? How does he ever learn to drive if the only time you're in the car is when you have to be where you're going in the amount of time that you have? Very difficult. And that's I think, what essentially trying to develop a quarterback while also winning football games is. It doesn't mean you can't eventually get there. I remember before I drove cross-country summer after high school with AJ riding, who has a stick-shift Honda Civic. My dad took me out in his old stick-shift car, and I learned to drive that car because I was going to have to drive it. Well, thank God, because the first time I got in AJ's car when it was my turn to drive, we were going through the Nevada mountain range in the rain. Thank God
I got this, boys.
Thank God I'd gone around freaking, Fordham Drive 3 times at a couple of stop signs. It was not the same. It worked out. It was okay. Trial by fire. But that's not ideal. And I don't think any of us can really fully appreciate unless you've stood in. This is where when people say, like, you guys don't understand what it's like. I do give players this. I don't think anybody can really imagine what it's like to stand in there, right? Just how fast it is, how fast it all happens. And the reality is Trey's only stood in there 4 games.
Yeah.
And I don't know if maybe that injury would have happened to him if he'd been in the league 5 years and was the MVP. I don't know. But things were moving very quickly for him, and I think it showed a little bit.
There have been a lot of running quarterbacks, I would say, over our, you're about to turn 37, I'm about to turn 38, like in the last, I would say in our 30s, right? When you say in our 30s, we've seen an influx of very successful running quarterbacks. We've seen this injury, really major injuries happen to these guys very limited times. I'd argue like Lamar, Kyler, Josh Allen's, even Dak. I mean, Dak was a pretty freaky deal.
Yeah.
Right? They feel very comfortable in space. I was always pushing back because I was like, I don't know if he really – I did see it on that play. Like when you hesitate, even he's hesitating at a high level because he's an NFL athlete, but you're just a little hesitant. Like you watch Kyler, there is no fucking hesitation. As we were going, there was a play of him scrambling around. Max Crosby, who's clearly one of the better pass rushers in the league, Kyler's comfortable with him like on his back, right? You watch Lamar, he's just so comfortable. Watch Jalen Hurts tomorrow, how comfortable he is just I'm talking about moving. We're not talking about passing. We're just talking movement with other guys in different colors in front of you. You watch Jalen, it's just like natural to him. You watch Lamar, it's natural to him. Kyler, it's like Kyler probably looked like that in Pee Wee football, but it's just he's just developed the reps and knows the speed and knows the angles. This kid just didn't have the angle. And how do you develop the instincts to run when you don't have him coming in the league? That's back to my Kaepernick thing. Kaepernick didn't need to develop it anymore. He just needed a couple reps to go, actually, my speed still translates here. I know how to do this play. I know how to run. I know what angle I like, right? Done it a million times.
Right.
In practice with alt, in games. Now, it might have been against Fresno and Boise. Okay, it's like, well, the first time I did it, oh, I am faster than Bobby Wagner. Okay, good. We're good to go, right? This guy, it's like, what is his – you call a football game, something weird happens, you go, well, I've been calling football games now for 15 years. You know, when you – anything you do, you're in a sales call with a big meeting and there's a fucking curveball. You're like, oh, my God. Well, if you've seen 18 different curveballs, you go, okay, just take it. We'll just do this instead. Yeah. I think there gets times where he's just like got nothing to fall back on. Like, and that's, you look at all the other Niners players in their own positions. Nick, like Bosa's just so comfortable. Like, okay, this isn't working. I'll do this. This isn't working. Debo, I got to do this. I got to do this. Even Ayuk, like I'll figure it out. Dwelly's much more comfortable as a football player. Why? He's got 1 million reps the last 3 years. Kittle's hurt a lot, so he plays a lot. But you know what I mean? It's like you watch Dwelly, you just go, NFL player. Like Dwelly. I don't know how much long, the Niners can afford it, but he'll be like 9-year career because you're just comfortable playing. Like Trey just looks, you go, well, develop him. Well, this is not the Bears where nothing matters. This is every fucking thing matters because they got a loaded roster and they've been to 2 NFC championship games in the last 3 years and they won 4 playoff games. The standard is just completely different. It's like, I'm sure you saw it, the video of UCLA celebrating. And you can go, well, you celebrate wins in football. They don't happen.
For people that missed it, John, they beat South Alabama on a last-second field goal.
Yeah, and then in the locker room, they went apeshit. And obviously, like Liners and all the USC guys are making fun of them. And you can go, listen, because I think it's easy to go, it's football, it's hard to win. And then you also go, yeah, there are standards. Like if I don't think Lincoln Riley would be happy with his team doing that if they were in a similar situation. And I don't even use them. Let's just go to like Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia. That would be completely unacceptable. And the standards for like UCLA football chip, he's kind of mailing it in, like whatever. It's like, who cares? That's not like the 49ers ain't doing that. Like the 49ers standards are just different than typically when you draft in the top 2 or 3, your team sucks. It's an outlier situation. And ideally, a couple years ago, you go earlier this week, you're like, I threw Mahomes' first game. That was ideal. It was like it gave him a redshirt year. He got that one start, hits the ground, and he's just fucking pretty sweet. That'd be ideal. Well, that wasn't really the case here.
You know what's crazy is that I think we know this. We've talked about it. But Josh Allen has played 1 game this year. He's run the ball 10 times. Last year, Josh Allen had 17 games. He ran the ball 122 times. You could argue the Bills need to chill. But
he's so good. But he's so good at it.
And listen, they didn't win a championship. It's not like they're winning a championship, let alone winning a championship easily. I think it's an example of that. You just, whatever tools you have, it is so hard to win in this league. You do whatever it is you must do in order to win. The Buffalo Bills, with inarguably one of the most valuable players in the NFL,
$1 billion player,
put him in harm's way 7 to 10 times a game. Now it's a little different because he's a little bigger, stronger, faster, a better runner, whatever. But that's the argument Kyle's making. Is like, hey guys, I'm just doing everything it takes to win. And I think you can agree with that, but also acknowledge that when you run Trey Lance a lot, you are putting him at risk. And I wonder, would he do it differently if Jimmy was his backup quarterback or if it was just Purdy? I don't think he would. I think he would have done it the same way. But, knowing he had, like Sean Payton said the other day, his little binky, his little safety blanket, his safety net waiting, I don't know. Maybe he would have done it differently.
I watched a little pregame show today, first time in a long time. Sean Payton's pretty good on TV.
Was he? I saw they did the little thing with him wearing the visor, pretending like he was doing a halftime interview with Kurt Menefee.
He just well-spoken, knows his shit. Got a little shit to him. He's become pretty natural to him.
Kind of funny.
Yeah, just natural TV guy. Now you could argue he's been Maurice. Keep some of your money.
Yeah, we appreciate the donations, but please,
this isn't, save it for no kids maybe later about Christmas.
When we get in the playoffs and Jimmy throws 10 times and runs the ball 30 times, are we going to be saying Jimmy can't throw because that's what happened? Well, there are 2 separate conversations going on. One is just about Trey Lance. I don't think anyone has any we have a large body of work on Jimmy Garoppolo, and I thought today he was better than he normally is. Right? He was better than he normally is. What will he be as the season goes on? probably about the same as what we've always seen. Some highs, some lows. Get ready for the roller coaster. We'll dive into that conversation later. Get ready for the roller coaster, ladies and gentlemen. We've been on this ride before. But that's a separate conversation from the Trey thing. Jimmy is absolutely limited.
Well, I think before we'll dive into Jimmy here a lot coming up, but the Trey, a lot of the conversation is like, we traded all these picks and he can't throw. What about all the picks? We said it at the time. One, you had to swing for the fences. That's the whole point of the move. You could not take Mac Jones, and they swung for the fences. But as everyone who's followed football, everyone who's followed the sport knows there is no guarantee if they took Mac Jones, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, that guy was a lock to be good. That's not the way the thing works.
Absolutely.
So it's like part of this is we waste all those picks. Well, whoever you would have took, right? The risk is there. The risk is there when you take players. For every, like, I'm watching the Tampa game today, and it's like, holy shit, Devin White is really good. I mean, you can't watch the Bucs with Devin White not doing multiple things a game where you're like, is that like Navarro Bowman or something? But I thought he was going to be sweet. He was sweet at LSU, but we've seen a lot of guys be sweet in college and not like Rolando McClain. Like, it happens. There is no guarantee. Do you remember a couple of years ago, the best offensive lineman was Wirfs? That was like the offensive lineman heavy draft, and like 4 guys went ahead of him. No one knows this at the time. And quarterbacks, it's pretty clear, right, is infinitely harder unless it's Trevor Lawrence is pretty sweet. Like, I think we have to acknowledge, like, guy's going to be pretty good now that he has a real coach.
Sorry, John. I'm laughing because it turns out in the chat, Maurice, we thought was giving us $50 per comment, is paying in pesos. MXN, $50 is Mexican pesos. If you're listening to the podcast, what happens is on YouTube, people can throw money into their comments, and it keeps saying MXN $50. I just thought MXN was his name. No, MXN is Mexican peso. So it's really like $2.50.
Gracias, Maurice.
Maurice said I wouldn't be dropping rent money in the super chat. Yeah, got him. That's funny.
Yeah, that's funny. That's an all-time. That's a good one.
That's good.
That's a good.
That is good.
But I just think that because that's a conversation that I think big picture is going to be reflective of Kyle, John, the franchise, the trade. To me, I have no issue with the trade, and I have no issue swinging. I think it's been somewhat of an indictment just how difficult this is, and what a difficult. You and I kept saying it, and some people would get like offended when you use the word project. Like, he's one of the all-time greatest projects ever. When you factor in COVID, the missed year, his just career.
Where he played college football.
The projection, the team that he was going to, that wasn't just like a project team. I would imagine it would have looked a lot different if they had done that Kyle's first year when they were really shitty, and just a couple of years, like, whatever, just figure it out as we go. And we could have maybe been critical of, like, do you just let him throw, let him work some stuff out? Why are you running him? But Kyle's desperately trying to be a home playoff game.
Yeah.
Like, well, and that's what every fan is. I'm sorry.
He has to win. Whether he's criticized for the play call or whether it's if Trey doesn't work out and Jimmy Garoppolo is their quarterback in 2023. If it doesn't work out, there's plenty of blame for Kyle for maybe the evaluation, for the lack of the ability to develop Trey, for the plan with Trey, for trading up without really, maybe you traded up not loving the guy, you traded up just to evaluate guys, whatever. There's going to be plenty of blame to go around. And the only way out is to win football games. Whether Trey is your starting quarterback or Trey is your backup quarterback. The only way out of that is to win games. The only way out is to win games. So whether you justify the trade by playing Trey and just running the ball with him and winning games that way, or you win games with Jimmy Garoppolo, that's the only way to overcome it, right? You either make it a success or you overcome the failure. That's the only way out, is to win football games. And, I think Kyle Shanahan showed us that's what he thinks back when Mike Shanahan was the head coach and Kyle was the OC. And he's showing it again. He showed it again. And now he's got to go win with Jimmy, which we know is not his preferred method because he traded for a quarterback to replace Jimmy.
Then he didn't even know who was at the time.
I always go back to this. Like, the idea that Kyle loves Jimmy, he traded 2 ones and swapped another one to replace him. So he can't love him that much.